it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with romances that I have been obsessed with lately. So these are romances that are either like 4.5 or 5 stars, and I love them so much. I haven't done this video in almost a month, so I have quite a few to catch you up on. We have a lot of different genres. We have fantasy, we have paranormal, we have small town, we have hockey, we have just everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. The first one I have is one that is a new release. It released last week, and I loved it. I love a hero who is very grumpy and brooding, but like nice. And so like he's always there for everybody, but hates when people are there for him, and that is Forever Wild by Rebecca Jenchak. This is the special edition arc that she mailed out, but I loved this book. It is book 5 in the Wildcat series. I've only read 1, 4, and 5, so you don't have to read them in order, but I could definitely tell like other characters in here have had their romances because it had like a lot of couples that were in their friend group. But Jack is the team captain for the Wildcats, which is a professional hockey team. It is an age gap. He's early 30s, she's early 20s. She just graduated from college, and her brother is his teammate. So she is like house sitting for people during the summer before she starts an internship, and they're all like on vacation during the off season for hockey, and he actually got injured. So at the very end of the last hockey season, he was in a car wreck, and it was like icy conditions. He missed out on the rest of the season, and now he is rehabbing, and he is so grumpy. But then she's like, hey, I'm gonna come by and use your pool, okay? And he's like, what the heck do you mean? Because she heard that he was struggling. They spend time together, and it is so good. The pining is so good. The steam is so good in here. The spice is definitely really good in here as well. If you like a hockey romance, I would definitely recommend picking this up. It is mostly off season, so we don't get like a ton of hockey, but he does talk about like rehabbing his knee, and I think it's his knee. Yeah, I think it's his knee. And he broke his arms. Like, so he is just trying to get back into shape. So there's a lot of off-season workouts happening. And then we do see like the beginning of the season in here. But we have the whole teammate camaraderie here still. And she's trying to figure out like her future because she kind of has no idea what she wants to do. And she's doing this internship, but she really feels at home where like her brother lives and all the hockey players live, but her internship's a couple hours away. So it was really good. I really like this. I highly recommend checking this out. You don't have to read the entire series, but you can if you want to. And the other most recent book I read that I'm obsessed with is Heartless Hunter. This is a witch hunter and a witch romance, and they actually start courting each other because they're suspicious of each other. So she knows he's the witch hunter. Like, he has a reputation. He has been leading like the witch hunt against witches. They found him bad and evil because there were these like evil queens that were ruling, either queens or princesses, and he has his own baggage when it comes to that because he is very traumatized from his life prior to becoming a witch hunter. And so there is a Crimson Moth, which is this person, this vigilante who is a witch who is saving witches. He has no idea who it is. He has like a vendetta against her. He's like, I'm going to capture this person. Someone says, hey, I think it's actually her. It is, but he doesn't know that, and so he is like, okay, like I can see why it could possibly be her. So then he's like, I will like court her / date her to get closer and figure it out, because like when you are a witch, they use blood magic, and when you cut yourself, it leaves behind like a silver scar, so you can immediately tell who's a witch by their scars. Our heroine's never cut herself. She uses her period blood as the blood for her magic, and so she can't really do a lot of strong spells, and she has to wait so long to like replenish her blood supply and can only get so much because she does not want it to be like known that she's a witch. And so it's really good. And he's like, well, I gotta get her, you know, without clothes on so I can find out if she's got these scars or not. So obviously they start falling for each other, and then the ending of this was so good, and his brother's actually her best friend. So there's a little bit of a love triangle, not really, because you know she's not into the brother. It's just like a best friend that she's friend zoned, but he's like in love with her. Oh my god, it's so good. I love the romance in here. So much action. I sped through this book. It is on KU too, so love this. And this one comes out on November 19th, so it is coming out soon, but Broken Harbor by Catherine Kells. I did get an early copy of this. This is so good. This is Cope and Sutton's story. Another hockey romance that's all off season, except for like a couple scenes at the end. But he is home in his small town where he grew up. This is all following like a group of siblings where I think like 2 of them are with their biological mom, and then they like fostered and adopted a bunch of them. So there are I think 6 siblings total, and so this is Cope's story and Sutton, who's the bakery owner single mom, and Cope is a professional hockey player, and he's home back in their small town. He plays in Seattle, but now he's back home home in Sparrow Falls, and he is coaching kids hockey, and her son plays hockey, and he is obsessed with the Reaper, which is Cope's nickname, and so her son is hilarious. He is so cute, and Sutton is trying to stay away from him. Her previous husband was actually a famous athlete, and things went very downhill. Like, he is dangerous to her now, and so she doesn't really want to be in the limelight. She doesn't want to really trust anybody who's an athlete again, and so she's definitely very hesitant to start anything with him. But this one is so emotional. Like, the amount of times I almost cried reading this book was a lot, and she has to be around him a lot, and then things that happen, he has to take care of her, and she has to take care of him. Like, they really have to lean on each other and be there for each other. Small town romance, romantic suspense, because someone is kind of threatening her, and you really don't know who in this world would be threatening her, because there's actually like a lot of bad people who could be the culprit, so you really don't know, and her twists get me every time. I loved it so much. Like, this series just gets better and better and better. Obsessed. Coming out on the 19th, please read it. Then I have one that I'm like, okay, it's about time I read this, but Bride by Allie Hazelwood. I read this for a reading vlog, and I can link that down below. This was so good. So it's Marriage of Convenience, Fated Mates, and she's a vampire, he's a werewolf. And vampires and werewolves are like enemies, so they have to be married as like a political alliance, and she thinks that he has a mate that took her place, like with the vampires, and that's not the case, because he cannot stand being around her and her smell. And she's like, what, do you like? I smell really bad. It's like giving Twilight vibes, where Edward's like, I can't be around you, and she's like, oh, do I like smell? No, he's just like literally obsessed with your smell. So I loved that, and he's very brooding and doesn't want to like actually come out and say that he likes her, so there's so much pining in here. I was obsessed with the pining. It was so good, and the romance is great, and then just the action at the end too, and there's like a kind of a mystery about like who's trying to sabotage this whole alliance between the werewolves and the vampires, like who are the bad guys, and trying to get through that. And her best friend is a human who had actually gone missing in the beginning, so she's really trying to track down her best friend and what happened to her. So there's a lot going on in this book, and I loved it. Like, a really great paranormal romance, really great Fated Mates. So good. And there's a time where, like, because they're supposed to be married, so like they have to like pretend they're canoodling in a closet so they're not caught. I love those moments. This was so good. Another paranormal, and this is my first paranormal from this author, and it was perfect for the fall. Like, when I tell you, I am reading so many fall books with the perfect fall vibes, and that is Inheritance by Nora Roberts. I loved this so much that I went to NetGalley and I requested the audiobook for 2. I highly recommend the audio. Any Nora, please listen on audio. Her books are so good on audio, but this one, our heroine has a horrible breakup because I don't remember if they were engaged. They might have already been engaged, but I think so. He cheated on her, and she walked in on him cheating on her with her cousin. And so she's like obviously devastated, but like more angry than anything, and he actually like turns it around where he starts harassing her at work, and she's like, sorry guys, I'm not getting married, like he cheated on me. And so then he like turned it around to make it seem like her fault, and then like deletes her projects on her computer, slashes her tires, to the point where she's like, I can't be here anymore. And she inherits a mansion, a very haunted mansion, from her dad's unknown twin brother. Like, she didn't know her dad had a twin, and her dad never mentioned him, and she's like, so the twin had died and her dad has passed, and so she inherits this mansion. She's like, okay, fine, like I'm just gonna go up and do it, because like I just quit my job. She's gonna freelance, and moves into this really creepy haunted house that has some friendly ghosts. So there's some like malevolent ghosts in this house that are really creepy, especially in this one room, but then there's a ghost that like plays fetch with the dog, and then there's a ghost that like does her dishes. And so she kind of slowly uncovers who each of these ghosts are, and then who the malevolent spirit is, and like what is the root of this malevolent spirit. And it has a cliffhanger because it is going to be a trilogy, but it is so good and atmospheric. And there's a romance. She has a romance with her cousin's best friend, and it's a little insta love. Like, Nora's romances typically move very quickly, but I loved him, and it was really good, and I'm really excited for book 2. So if you want a haunted house romance, read Inheritance by Nora. So good. Then I have Sunday Morning by, oh my gosh, who is this author? I'm gonna put the cover here. This one is a forbidden romance, and I love a romance where it's 2 brothers fighting over someone. I just love the angst so much. And so in this one, our heroine is the preacher's daughter, and she is very sheltered, and she's dating like the golden boy in school. To be fair, there's like 15 kids in their class, but she is dating him, and she's very interested in like sexuality and like moving further, and he doesn't want to, and so she's very confused, like why he won't go further with her, and he won't like really talk about it, and he's like scared to, and obviously like she shouldn't because of what she's been brought up to believe. But then his older brother is back home from the military and he makes her feel things she shouldn't be feeling. But he really encourages her to explore sides of her that everyone else is trying to stifle. So like she really loves music. She would love to go to Nashville and perform and like become a musician, and no one else really wants her to chase her dreams. He plays guitar and he sings, so he's like, oh, you can borrow my guitar. But he really makes her uncomfortable. Like he pushes her buttons and really wants her to push herself, and it is their romance. Oh my gosh, it is so good. It really reminded me of The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. If you love that one, I really enjoyed this one, so I highly recommend checking it out. Definitely a forbidden romance, and I just really liked it. And the last one I have is Unspoken Promises by Sienna Judd. Oh my gosh, I was like, I cannot think of any author names in this video. This is a romantic suspense, and if you know me, I love romantic suspense. I am always looking for new authors, and this one is a hacker. So she grew up, she doesn't know who this guy who brought her up is. She pretty much assumes he's in the mafia, okay? And she's very, very sheltered, and she decides to escape. Like she leaves. She wins this hacking competition and wins this job for this like really, really good company. And so she escapes her house and shows up at this mansion, and she's like, hey, I'm here for my job, but I also need a place to stay. And they're like, hey, great, you're here for your job, but we don't have a place for you to stay. So she has to stay with the like owner of the business, like in his mansion basically, and the romance is with him, and he knows she's hiding something because he's like obviously really good at computers. So he's like, your name is fake, like we know this, we know you're hiding from something. But he decides to kind of trust her anyways, but like not really. So he gives her just like these menial tasks, and she's like, no, I'm here to hack, like give me better jobs. And it's their romance. So it's like slowly them hanging out together, kind of uncovering things about their past, and the twists in here are really, really good at the end. I enjoyed those uncoverings very much. They were not something that I had seen coming either, so I really enjoyed this one. I do think if you're looking for a new romantic suspense author, Sienna Judd is definitely someone to look at, so highly recommend checking this out. And those are romances that I'm currently absolutely obsessed with right now. I could not recommend these enough, and I could not stop thinking about them. And they are really great variety of genres. So we have hockey, we have romantic suspense, we have paranormal. I need to read more fantasy, because whenever I read fantasy and paranormal, they usually end up in these videos. So I need to explore those more. But let me know in the comments what books you've been obsessed with lately, or if you've read these, your thoughts on them. I would love to hear. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and leave me a hockey emoji for Forever Wild by Rebecca Genshak. Leave me anything to do with hockey in the comments down below, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.